Welcome. This is Chris Bernard from Content Engagement Lab and CB Knows AI. I am going to help you figure out what ClaudeBot is. I was just asked actually just a few minutes ago, what is ClaudeBot? I'm looking at exploring it, looking at trying to figure it out. And I wanted to do a little bit of digging for you guys because most of you are probably familiar with hearing about it, but you haven't actually ordered the product and opened the box and figure out what it can do. But you've heard some things. And so I wanted to kind of distill that a little bit for you in terms of actual use cases so that you know what it is, you know what the dangers are. If you were going to order the product and unbox it and let her ride, you kind of have an idea as to what it can do, right? So kind of hedging it in a little bit. So I did actually have 5 use cases that I think are going to melt your eyeballs and really worth kind of paying attention to get the gears moving. So for those of you that are kind of just learning AI and how to write good prompts and using the CRIT framework and really getting good responses and building out your Google Gems or your custom GPTs or playing in Claude projects or something of that nature. This is very agentic workflow oriented. All right, so it's going to give you kind of insight into some of the things that you could actually do to maybe, if you're not ready to open the box in OpenClaw, to be able to use things like N8N or Make or Zapier to think about workflows in a slightly different way so that you can play with those. I'll call them more safe tools. Maybe we'll go with that, more safe tools anyway, that you can kind of control and give access at a much more safe manner per se than just letting OpenClaw go after new this stuff. So I'll get right into it. OpenClaw, the Swiss Army knife of autonomous business systems. I'm just going to go down this sucker here and actually just kind of read it because there's some really good context. I don't want to lose that for you. So just bear with me here. I'm going to go through this because I haven't actually opened the box. I'm actually kind of scared a little bit of this thing. So you're just walking this path with me in this case. So in 2026, OpenClaw, formerly known as Claude with a D-bot, ClaudeBot, has emerged as the leading open source agentic framework distinguished by its ability to actually do things rather than just chat. Created by Peter Steinberg, who recently joined OpenAI to lead personal agent efforts, the tool has drawn significant attention from the biggest names in tech. Here are the 5 prominent use cases for OpenClaws highlighted by trusted industry notables, myself not included in that. But these are people that we trust, guys, and we follow, and definitely worth paying attention to. So the first use case is vibe coding and autonomous development. This was Peter Steinberg, creator, and Andrej Karpathy. Uh, if you don't follow Andrej, you really ought to. He's somebody you definitely want to make sure you're listening to. OpenClaw is the flagship tool for the vibe coding, a paradigm where the developer describes a desired outcome and the agent autonomously writes, tests, and deploys the code. The use case: developers use OpenClaw to manage their entire coding loop overnight. It can monitor a repository, it's basically a space for all the things, identify bugs via Sentry webhooks, autonomously write a fix, and open a pull request on GitHub before the developer even wakes up. So, notable insight: Andres Karpathy has praised the sophisticated memory and the unique soul.md file configuration allows the agent to maintain a consistent teammate personality during long-term projects. Now, an MD file, I forget what the name of it is, but basically, it's basically an output file that, um, gosh, it's just basically an output file, right? It can actually run routines and stuff like that. It can be instructions. I forget what MD stands for. I don't remember. You can drop in the comments. Second use case: proactive ecosystem for you. Morning briefings. This is good. So those of us that do actually read like news sources and things like that, it can do a great job of filtering through things and kind of bubbling stuff up to the top. But it can even go further than that. So in this case here, Qualcomm is the notable. Christina Amon. In a recent technical overview, Qualcomm highlighted OpenClaw as the blueprint for the quote personal AI end quote that runs on the edge, specifically Snapdragon X2 Elite platforms. Here's the use case. Instead of you checking 5 different apps, OpenClaw pulls from your Google Calendar, Weather API, GitHub Activity, Slack to send a single 150-word text message at 6:30 a.m. It doesn't just list the data; it filters it based on your goals. It's raining. You have a 9 o'clock a.m. I moved your run to 4 p.m. and pre-drafted a weather-appropriate outfit list. Not bad. So again, as I'm reading these things, you can do very similar things like in make.com, very simple and easy to use in terms of automation, or a Zapier. I think Zapier is actually a little tougher to use. And I'll give you a tip for using those. You may not even know what I'm talking about when I say those things, but I'll give you a tip here at the end that will be very helpful to making actually the stuff get done. Okay. But this helps you get the workflow concept of, what I want desired and all the things that can be flicked on, changed, or whatever through that metric. And then going back to the original sources of information. So you got all the steps in the process kind of in your head as a workflow. That's really the core concept of what this can be for you, not even if you don't turn on OpenClaw and go do the stuff. Okay. Enterprise inbox and support triage. So this notable comes from Green. This notable is Green Node and Canarica, I guess is the name. Don't know for sure. Business automation firms have identified OpenClaw as a communications chief of staff for both individuals and support teams. Use case. OpenClaw connects directly to Gmail or Outlook to triage messages. At the enterprise level, it monitors support inboxes and chat widgets like WhatsApp Business to resolve level 1 tickets using internal knowledge bases. So again, think like custom GPT or OpenAI platform, only escalating to humans for complex edge cases. So again, it's taking data in, it's running it through a brain, whether that's Google Gemini, custom GPT, platform.ai, whatever it is. The benefit, it moves beyond drafting replies to actually executing tasks like unsubscribing from junk, archiving noise, and updating CRM records, Salesforce, HubSpot, based on the content of the email. So we have the same kind of thing going on. Whether you build a custom bot, we have basically a platform.ai, which is OpenAI's kind of behind the scenes, and it's a thought engine, right? We call it a thought engine behind a chatbot. So you can ask it questions. It's been trained and tuned and all that stuff for a national medical company. So it's things like that really, yes, OpenClaw can do it. It's got a lot of advantages. It can kind of figure some of this stuff out, but it helps for you to kind of go back and think about the workflows. And if you had a bunch of resources available to go do stuff, or technology was allowed to communicate, just remove those, what are called silos, and think about workflows. You can do this stuff with OpenClaw, and it will probably help you with that. But if you've documented out, you can do it in a much safer environment. Again, using Make, N8N, Zapier, those kind of things for automation as well. A lot of those have plugins with these things too as well. Fourth use case, 24/7 on-chain trading and DeFi monitoring. So the notables that supplied this are from BitGet as well as Crypto.com. OpenClaw can run 24/7 on local hardware like a Mac or a Mini, which, by the way, is what I'd recommend if you're going to do any of this OpenClaw stuff, because if it has access to its stuff, even in terms of, I've explained this to a client this morning. Let's say you only give it it wants access to something, let's say in accounts and billing, but you don't give it directly access to it. But if you have a middle app, right, that's there, like a SaaS application, and it has access to it, it will find it. Okay, that's the kind of power it's like the Terminator, right? It will never stop. Okay. Because OpenClaw can run 24/7 on local hardware like a Mac Mini, it has become the gold standard for secure private financial automation. The use case, Major exchanges have integrated OpenClaw to allow users to build research agents. These agents aggregate on-chain data, sentiment analysis from X, which is basically Twitter, and white papers to execute rules-based trades such as automated portfolio rebalancing or catching cheap gas windows for DeFi yield farming on Ethereum and Solana. So again, it's using it as primarily as a research tool, right? And then it's delivering a report or type of a portfolio adjustment recommendation, and then it's actually taking action on that adjustment. The fifth use case, structured knowledge and execution, Claw Hub. The notables here are Andrew Ng, is that how we say it? Ing, AI Fund. My apologies to Andrew. Andrew launched a context hub, was specifically designed to complement the execution layer built by OpenClaw's Claw Hub ecosystem. So here's the use case. So again, the use cases are where it gets kind of the gears thinking a little bit here, right? And getting them turning. Using a Stack Overflow for agents approach, OpenClaw uses prepackaged skills. So these are things that like cool kind of tools in the toolbox to perform complex multi-step operations like AP automation, eliminating manual invoice processing. Good Lord. God bless the accounts payable, accounts receivable people. The strategy, while Andrew, I'm going to use Andrew's name, while Andrew's tools provide the reference manual, the documentation, OpenClaw provides the workshop, the actual steps to execute. Users install a skill once, and the agent works that playback to manage everything from internal wiki updates to automated client onboarding. So again, like just take the client onboarding, right? You have a stepping process of which that usually occurs. Is there a way that you can use your current systems and connections in order to get from the data entry point and those triggers all the way through actual work to get done, which is the output that you desire? So, think about that kind of stuff. And then once you put that process in place, that's where automation can happen. Whether you use OpenClaw or not is, that's up to you. I think IT has a real reason to be scared with OpenClaw just because of the access thing that I just mentioned a second ago. It is like the Terminator. So you may get an OTP, which is a one-time password kind of thing, and say, oh, it's been authenticated, whatever. And you are asked it, and it doesn't give you that. It doesn't give you that, and it's actually already rooted around it, right? Those are the kind of things that scare the hell out of IT people. And rightly so, because it's going to have access to data that maybe you don't want access to, right? So I come from like big agencies, right? Where like I get sent a WebEx invite. This was like, 20 years ago, and IT locked that down. You're like, damn it, I just want to get on the freaking call. WebEx is something we all use. Like, why is that? So I can't remember his name. It was always like this battle because I was always trying to figure out like the new technologies and integrate this in. Like, Lord, I'm in digital, right? So interactive marketing, like I need to know this stuff. Yeah. So him and I would always kind of head it off a little bit. I'm sure you can't relate. Anyway, I digress. So implementation note, and I've kind of made mention of this before. So you can use like make.com or Zapier or N8N, which is a more complex. So Zapier, in my opinion, Make is the easiest. Zapier does very similar things, but it's a little bit. It can be a little bit more difficult to kind of figure out for whatever reason. And then N8N is for much more advanced kind of users for automations. Here's the deal: once you get that workflow kind of set up and know the systems, this is the key, you guys. So listen up. You may not know how to do code. You may not know how to write Python script. Okay, it doesn't matter. Go ahead and create a custom gem or a Google gem or a custom GPT or whatever it is. Or you can even use projects in Claude or even just Claude directly. And you say, this is the information I have. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm using, make.com to do this. I have access to this information. And it will literally, if you tell it I'm using Make or I'm using Zapier, tell me step by step how to do this. It will do it for you. It will tell you the steps necessary, just as the owner's manual, step 1 through 10. And if you have like step 2 doesn't make sense to you, you're going to say, I need to explain when you get to step 2. I'm going to need to explain step 2 a little bit more thoroughly. This is what I'm saying. Do a screenshot of it, right? And it'll show you, it'll respond back. So as long as you're willing to commit to iterating on this stuff, there's no reason why you can't build an automation that freaking rocks, right? So that I want to leave as encouragement for you. Additional tip with that kind of stuff. Once you give it all that context of this is what I'm trying to accomplish, these are the tools I'm actually using make.com for this. I need you walking through step by step, blah, blah, blah. Once you do that, before you hit enter and have it actually go do that, you may want to ask it using the crit framework again, right? You've given all the context, roles. You didn't really need to do roles. You can if you want, if you think that's going to be helpful. The task you've already kind of set up because it was in your initial context, but that interview, ask me 3 questions, only one at a time, to improve the output of this prompt or task or whatever it is. And it will ask you those 3 questions. Don't skip that process, you guys. I'm telling you, it's going to save you hours if you just make sure before you get all that context in there, ask it. Before you work on this task, ask me 3 questions, only one at a time, to improve the output of this task. Do it. I don't care if it's Gemini. I don't care if it's Claude. I just don't care. Do it. It's going to save you hours. Okay? Last note, and I got to shut this off. So security note, I'm going to read this, right? So while highly productive, Immersive Labs and PC Mag have warned that OpenClaw's deep system access makes it a security nightmare. That's in quotes, by the way. If not properly sandboxed, experts recommend, and experts are always somewhat highly, but I've heard from multiple experts and people I trust. Experts recommend running it on a dedicated local machine like a Mac Mini or a Raspberry Pi rather than primary workstation containing sensitive personal data. Guys, don't screw around with this stuff right now. We're all trying to figure it out. It's great that you have that kind of winning spirit to go do it, but there's just been too many security questions regarding access and information. And we all work for companies. You have company information likely on your computer and your devices. Be mindful of that, okay? So with that, I hope this helps. I learned some things in this. The big takeaway is really kind of think about your workflows and go ahead and do that. Let me know if you guys are playing with OpenClaw, if you've got some really cool use cases. I would love to hear them. Also, some things in terms of what you can do to tidy up the system a little bit. Specifically, if you're in IT, I'd love to hear from you guys in terms of, these are the things like we're not doing this for these reasons, or yeah, we are doing it. It's a limited basis, so we're kind of testing. We're allowing a couple of people to do it, and this is how we're allowing them to do it. That information is so helpful. So it would allow me to be able to feel more comfortable knowing in my network there's some people that have deployed this in a safe, quote unquote, way. So feel free, drop it in, let me know, comment, like, dislike, whatever. Don't care, share. Love to hear from you guys. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate the time, always do. Yeah, be well.